Welcome to ZigWheels and welcome to the all-new Hyundai Venue. Now you and I know practically everything there is to the small SUV. It's been priced so well that you and I were forced to sit up and take notice. But we don't know one thing yet. How does it drive? So this video is going to focus on just that. Let's answer a few important questions. But before we do that, here's a quick look at the engine options of the Venue. We got to sample all of them except for the 1.2 litre petrol. Sure, it's got 120 horsepower, 172 Newton meters of torque, but Hyundai is using it to make the car more drivable on a daily basis. And Hyundai is making sure that you get some efficiency out of this turbo petrol engine as well. And to that effect, the gear ratios are super long. For instance, you can do anywhere from 20 to 120 in the same gear. But what I really like about this engine is that when you're out on the highway, when you're doing triple digit speeds, 100, 120 kilometers an hour, the torque, it's always there at your beck and call. You do not have to think twice before making that overtake. You can dance out of your lane, step on the gas, and the Venue will get the job done. Of course, even inside the city, this engine feels nice and easy to drive. The clutch, that's light. The gear action, that's light as well. So I don't see this being a bother at all. Of course, you can choose not to bother with shifting at all and hand over the duties to the dual clutch automatic, which brings us to the second question: what is the dual clutch automatic like? Now the DCT, well, it is smooth. It goes up and down the gears smoothly, quickly, without even you noticing. Inside the city, you'll hardly have a complaint, and it feels like it'll be a nice companion to have on those long highway drives as well. And I say that because it picks up those minor modulations on the throttle really well. So if you're in gear and you want to accelerate, the gearbox picks up on that quite well. Where it does feel slightly confused is when you break out the heavy foot, when you absolutely flat-footed go pedal to the metal. It'll take a while before it decides on which gear it should give you, and thereby delaying the acceleration just a little bit. So the Venue's new turbo petrol engine and the dual clutch automatic both make a solid first impression. But where we wouldn't stick our neck out for the Venue petrol just yet is in terms of efficiency. We'd really like to test it out in the real world and then give you a final verdict. So stay tuned for that. Now it's time for question number 3. What is the diesel like? Now the Venue gets the 1.4 litre diesel engine that we've already seen in the Elite i20, the Creta, the Verna. And we've said it before and we'll say it again, it's amongst the most refined diesel engines on the market. It barely makes a sound, and even when it does, it doesn't really sound unpleasant. Be it inside the city or on the highway, that engine is going to give you absolutely no reason to complain. In fact, if you've got extensive highway usage, we'd actually recommend the diesel because it has proven itself to be efficient as well as reliable. But if there's one thing that's missing from the diesel package, that is an automatic transmission. Both the Brezza and the Nexon give you that option. Question number 4, is it tuned for comfort or for fun? Well, let's first tackle the steering. And to start with, it is light and it requires very little effort to steer the Venue. The upside is that it is very precise as well as predictable. So when you're on winding roads like these, you can actually throw it in and have a little bit of fun. But what will stop you from going the whole hog is that the Venue's got a little bit of body roll. But even then, it doesn't feel overwhelming and it feels manageable. Now I have to talk a bit about the brakes. Now I feel it could have done with a little bit more of initial bite. You see, when you tap the brake pedal, it doesn't give you the braking power that you need immediately, and when you prod the brake pedal a bit more, it suddenly gives you all of it. So there is a bit of a learning curve here. What won't take getting used to, however, is the ride. It's tuned to take out the sting from bad roads, and even the harshest of potholes are dealt with maturity. Yes, there's some firmness in the suspension, and you'd even hear it when you're going through the really bad stuff. But inside the cabin, you don't get tossed around at the least. And that brings us to our final question. Is it good value? The answer to that question is a resounding yes. What stands out particularly is the SX variant that sits one below the top spec SX option. Now, even in this variant, you get goodies such as the sunroof, cruise control, automatic climate control, and even the 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, this variant is priced on par with the Nexon XZ, the Brezza ZDI, and the EcoSport Titanium, which amps its value quotient significantly. With the Venue, Hyundai's delivered a compact SUV that you'd happily drive everywhere. Now, speaking about the turbo-petrol first, it's easy to drive inside the city, and it's got the legs for a relaxed highway cruise as well. Sure, it could have done with a bit more zing, a bit more pep that it added to the fun factor, but there's no big reason to complain there. Now, if I talk about the DCT, if you needed a polished petrol automatic for those choco-block city runs, the Venue is not going to disappoint. Talking about the diesel, well, it's a gem of an engine. It is refined. It feels at home whether you're stuck inside bumper-to-bumper traffic or you're belting it on the highway. And with the Venue, Hyundai's also managed to strike a nice balance between ride and handling. It feels engaging enough to drive without compromising on comfort. So yeah, Hyundai's Venue might not have that single standout wow feature, but Hyundai has nailed the basics. And if there's one thing that the drive experience proves, it's that yummy sticker price, well, that's not the sole reason you'd consider the Venue. It is in fact a bonus.